Alrighty guys, so today we'll be going over basic build orders for Eastern Front mod, because I know a lot of you have been wondering what us players that are more experienced and have been playing the mod a while are using. So basically this is what the Soviets, for what I do, and many other players do. We just build one engineer squad, or engineering, I think is what it's called, and immediately you build the Red Army mustering tent. You can go ahead and queue him to go out to capture points and whatnot. I usually like to get one engineer at the beginning, and then about mid or late game I'll get a second engineer to help with repairing, or a minesweeper or flamethrower or whatnot. This is the basic build order versus Vermont and versus Oster, which I'm playing an Oster computer right now. But against Panzer Elite, I actually like to do things a little bit different, because conscripts don't seem to fare as well versus Panzer Elite. But in 1v1s it's fine. But versus Panzer Elite, their infantry are a lot tougher, and they'll shred your infantry a lot faster. So I usually like to get 3 or 4 engineers and put flamethrowers on them, because flamethrowers just shred Panzer Elite Panzer Grenadiers. And I also like to get Strictly, which they come from this building after you get the Armory. And they are, they have AT rifles, which I'll show you later, and they are awesome against Panzer Elite light vehicles. But let's go ahead and continue with the basic build order. So as soon as this gets up, we have conscript calling will come in, and I'm going to call these guys in. It only costs 230, so these guys are going to take a little bit to go in. And after I get them, I'm going to get the command squad. And you want the command squad, it's basically equal to a Vermont Grenadier squad in my opinion. And it's very powerful. And it's surprisingly well versus light vehicles. Its rifles seem to do very well versus the Kuba-wagon or the bike or a Schromm-wagon, so they're very good at light vehicle deterrence. They don't do as well versus the Panzer Elite half-tracks, but other than that, they do pretty dang amazing. And they give you global benefits. I'm not sure what exactly the global benefits are, but benefits are good either way. So the command squad comes out about the same time the conscript comes out, so you have a pretty good field presence right off the bat. Usually a bit better than the Vermont that you're facing. And then what I usually do is get another conscript. So you'll have 2 conscripts on the field. And, oh shoot, I already told him to capture that. My bad. So let's get this other conscript out. So basically once you get from engineer, conscript, command squad, and then conscript, that's your basic build order. And you can variant from there a little bit. Some people like to you can get up to 4 conscripts. Some people like to do that, and then you can do the Shrafniki demotion, which basically gives them a penal squad. And it makes them a little bit more powerful at close range, but then they can't get veterancy. And as you notice, the Stern Pioneers squad, they are much better at close range. As long as you can keep range from them, and preferably in cover, you can easily defeat them, because they can't even shoot you from that range. It's kind of pathetic on their part. So after this point, I've got a decent field presence. Then I either do, here I'll pause it real quick so I can speak and not battle. What I'll usually do is either go for another conscript squad, or I'll go for a quick machine gun. The SG-43 heavy machine gun. It's a very, very good damaging machine gun. So it's your conscripts and your command squad. They do okay damage, but they don't do usually as good as the Vermont or Oster. So a machine gun can help tip the favor. You'll usually outnumber your opponent, but having a machine gun really helps. So this game I'm going to go ahead and queue up a machine gun. And then I'll get a machine gun. And as soon as possible, you want to get your conscripts to weapon reserves, unless you plan on giving them Shrafniki upgrade. That'll give them all rifles as well. I'll go ahead and show you one of those here in a bit. As you can see, this command squad is pretty much holding its own, even with being by itself. It's got 3 squads it's fighting now, so it's going to need some support. We'll go ahead and send some conscripts up there to help. He's getting seriously low, so I guess we're going to go ahead and retreat him. Alright. Another good thing about conscripts that a lot of people don't use is they can build tank traps, they can build barbed wire, sandbags. It can really help your turn the tide in your favor. All right, so I'm gonna pause real quick. Queue up an observer team. These guys, right now, they're actually decently overpowered, and so they can scout for you, which I think is fine. But they can also, like, kind of snipe away units' health from a range. And they also have a bug, so if they retreat, they'll retreat extremely slow. So if you don't have them covered, they'll definitely get killed by the enemy. And they're relatively weak, but they do extremely high damage, which they shouldn't be able to shoot as far as a sniper, in my opinion. Kind of just makes them a little bit overpowering, but hopefully it gets fixed in the next update. We'll see what happens. So go ahead and get the machine gun set up. Reinforce our command squad. As you can see, conscripts perform relatively well in cover, and once you get them the weapons upgrade, then they do it even better. Go ahead and keep moving up. As you can see, we are doing quite well this match. So I personally don't like to use the observer team as much because I feel like it's kind of broken at its current state. But you will definitely see it a lot from other players, especially ones that have been playing the mod a while. They love to use it, much to my demise. Alright. So at this point, alright, let's go ahead. Let's see. So at this point, you could have gone. This is a pretty decent basic build order. The machine gun's usually involved because it helps you lock down portions of the map and gives you guys a bit more firepower. You could also go for yet another conscript squad, but this could be too much depending on your opinion. Another nice thing to do is find a nice area, and if it's somewhere you think you're gonna be battling a lot, like say I wouldn't actually put it right here because the buildings can give a lot of attrition, but you could put one right here. Say like you're from the north and you have this position, then I would put a machine gun here, then put one at outpost here. An outpost allows you they're observation points that allow you to reinforce, and they only cost the same, and they can also be garrisoned. So a smart thing to do is put your garrison here. You could put your observer team in there, and they'll I think automatically camouflage, and you can put your machine gun in there, and you can honestly just win the battle because your conscripts will be able to reinforce. So right here, early game, the Soviets usually have the numbers advantage, so you're just gonna want to make full advantage of that, and take advantage of what you can do. All right, so we've been going for a while. After this guy's gonna capture and then retreat, shift retreat, and he should be good to go. Select these guys, and once again, another cool thing to do: wire off heavy cover, especially after you build it like this. Sometimes you can't, and then if you build heavy cover for the enemy, that's gonna be bad. But that's why I built it right here, so there's a fence in the way, so he can't usually really use it. But as you notice, your units are starting to get lower health, and the Soviets' only way of really healing themselves is building a medical half-track. So at this point, you can either build a medic truck, which will help your guys, definitely help your guys healing a bit, or you can continue to tech up, which is I usually prefer to tech up. Next step is to get to Armory. We get that out very soon if you can, because it'll definitely help you tech up and get ahead of the game. Go ahead and get these guys moved up. I'll show you how far you can see with these guys, which I think they're extremely effective in my opinion. All right, let's see. Lockdown. I can see almost into his base. So it's pretty effective. All right, so after the armor comes up, you can go one or two ways. All right, so you can't build Struckley yet. You have to build your Soviet support barracks to build them, which they're a very effective unit, and you can build the Soviet support barracks just for that. The Soviet support barracks will give you all access to your AT weaponry as well, so AT guns, mortars, and you can get light tanks and armored cars. Or you can go ahead and build the Russian tank hall, and you can try to rush. A strategy there is to rush the T-60. It costs 70 fuel to build it, so It can be pretty expensive, especially if I don't have 70 fuel right now. So I'm going to currently go for the Soviet support barracks because that's what I want to do. And notice in your armory there's lots of upgrades. You can upgrade your additional reserves, which lowers lowers all weapon research times by 15 seconds, and then lowers your upkeep, which is awesome. Because upkeep can be a bit of a problem. Look at these guys all bunched up. Sometimes they'll do something crazy like that. Gotta be careful. That's how they all get killed by one grenade. So the AI is pretty easily pinned into their base right now. They might be trying to make a flank over here. Looks like because the AI is actually somewhat intelligent in the Eastern Front mod. So here we go. We're just saving up some manpower so we can build. I'll show you another unit that you can rush, which is kind of high risk, high reward. Let's go ahead and get them out. The BA-64D is an armored car, which has high damage. It doesn't cost very much. It's 35 fuel, 290 manpower. It's not super expensive, but I'll tell you things about it. It's like it can be very weak. Another option that you can do is you can rush out a BT-7. You have to upgrade this to get the BT-7. And the BT-7 is gonna dominate the early game. There's not much that can counter it. You have to wait for a HE gun to come out or a Panzer III, which it can go almost toe-to-toe with the Panzer III. The Panzer III has a bit more armor, so be careful of that. But the Panzer III costs more, so that makes sense. With flanking and conscript support, you can usually defeat a Panzer III, but just use it very conservatively. When it first comes out, you should be using this thing. It's like a cavalry tank. You should be rushing into these squads because they don't have, unless they have Panzer Shreks right off the bat, they're not going to have anything to stop it. And use your AT grenades, which you get these AT grenades as soon as you build the armory. And right now they're extremely high range, as you can see. It's a little bit overpowered because a half track can be like the edge of its range, and you can shoot it from over there. And the updates can be lowered to almost a little bit. I think it's a little bit longer than a sticky bomb, so it's a little bit more balanced. But right now, take full advantage of it and use that AT grenade, and it does a decent amount of damage for only costing 30. So continue to use that. Another upgrade you can get is the Petrol Bombs. I usually don't get these as much, but they can be very effective because infantry and cover. I usually get them later game because I like to spend my fuel on getting vehicles quick because fast vehicles can help a lot. But they're very effective at getting infantry out of cover. Just remember, you won't be able to use that cover. And buildings, say you got an MG in this building, you can get one squad to distract them right here in heavy cover, and then get one squad to move up here and throw a petrol bomb. Also, snipers. Some people like to get snipers in their build orders as well. I personally don't right off the bat. I usually like to get them mid or late game because it can be risky that if they try to kill it. Alright, let's go ahead and keep on keeping on. We're going to use the rest of our manpower to get some more munitions. Looks like we have a flank going on here, so we'll get these guys in this building and move back the conscript squad. Oh, man, they did a big flank. We'll use both conscript squads. Alright, let's get this armored car out. And generally when he first comes out, there won't be anything that can really stop him. Alright, so as you can see, this thing does extremely good damage, especially at close range with its machine gun. However, it is extremely weak. There's AT mines that you can plant as the Austere, which I'll show you about here in a bit. And then there's any AT gun. Currently, the AT gun will one-shot this poor guy. So if they can get an AT gun, which they can get out of this building pretty quick once they get their upgrades, they can one-shot that. So be careful about that. And so it's kind of like a glass cannon, but it's extremely effective at pushing infantry around when you first get it. You gotta be careful for Stern Pioneers because they usually have a Panzer Faust that they can get, but they also get shredded very quickly, so it's kind of a whoever gets who first. Alright. Alright, so as you can see, this thing takes somewhat small arms damage too. So yeah, it's definitely glass cannon. Gotta be careful with it. And you can also upgrade it to the PTRS-41, which replaces the machine gun with the AT rifle, which is extremely effective against buildings such as MG Nest, base buildings, and any light armored vehicles will get shredded by this. The Panzer II will go down surprisingly fast, probably a little bit too fast. I think it's a little bit overpowering, but I guess it makes up for it by being extremely weak, as this thing can be taken out and only a one hit by an AT gun. But if you upgrade to this, you will lose all your anti-infantry power, so just be aware of that. Later game, you're going to want to use this thing behind lines, so say they send one squad to come cap this and it's not an AT, send that thing up there, it can scare off units, but past early game, this thing's going to need to hide in the back because any AT is going to take it out. Any tank's going to be able to shred it pretty quickly. Alright, so you also notice I got a mortar, which I saw was a good choice to get it somewhat behind your lines. They have a fairly decent range. They can get almost into the base. And mortars in this mod do extremely high damage, higher than the Company of Heroes regular. So as you can see, the only thing I'm really lacking here is anti-tank support, which I'm going to go ahead and build another engineering, and I'm going to get an AT gun as well. Alright. So we're going to go ahead and try to force this AI into his base sector, if we can. And we're going to go ahead and get the Russian tank call. We're not going to show you the BT-7 right now. Get some flamethrowers out as well. As you can see, the AI is a lot smarter in this mod. They're actually making flanks, so it's pretty cool that they do that. Very interesting. Alright, let's get flamethrowers on both these guys. AT gun coming out. And now we're good on AT. Oh, those guys are double capping. That's not good. As you can see, your conscripts can always be doing something. They can only just be sitting. They can be wiring off all this heavy cover so the enemy can't use it against you, which is always something cool to do. Ooh, don't let our AT gun go up there. So let's get both these flamers out, which flamers are a super good upgrade, but remember they can't get the minesweeper after they do that, so you gotta be cautious. Have caution about that. Go ahead and retreat those guys. Get support back over from here. Alright. As you can see, like, the AI is not very smart, so one armored car is managing to hold us all back. Bottom. Alright, so is this medic truck. I'm gonna go ahead and get that out and build the tank hull just ahead right now. Oh, these guys are super low. Alright, so let's take a pause break. So, as you can see, I've got a pretty balanced army. Obviously, you usually won't have this good of map control during a 1v1. You won't have your opponent cut off almost completely from all his resources. But, so, build order, this is a decent one right here. You usually wouldn't have two of these right now, but you can always get two. And I'm not going to go ahead and build the BT7 right now because I don't want the BT7. If I go for one of these, I usually don't get the other because by the time I upgrade this and get him out, it's usually pretty obsolete. They've usually got an AT gun out, or maybe they have a light tank, or at least some AT weaponry where it's not as effective. I usually like to go for the BT7 as opposed to the armor car because it has heavier armor, can take like 2 or 3 pack hits as opposed to just dying in one, so you can actually get away. But as you can see, the A64 can be very effective, and you can actually spam them pretty easy. They just cost 35 fuel. So for the cost, this is way more cost effective, I believe, but you can get this out a lot quicker. So it's a more of a surprise, but it does it's a lot. You have to be a lot more careful. You have to have decent micro as well. Alright, so at this point, I'm going to go ahead, get my medic truck set up. I don't like to bring him to the, especially in 1 versus 1s, I don't like to bring him to the front. If it's 2 versus 2, I usually get one ally to bring him to the front and one ally to keep it at base. That way we don't have any trouble with healing in certain areas. Finally getting our guys healed up. It's about time. Alright. As you can see, these guys are trying to make a flank on me. Alright, so as soon as you get the Russian tank call out, you get the T60, which you could have rushed for, which is very effective, but it does pretty much the job of the armored car or the BT7. So I'm going to go ahead and upgrade to the light tank support. Oh, I need 40 fuel. Now I'm going to upgrade it too. Alright, so now we're going to talk about commanders while this is all going on. Alright, so there's propaganda war strategy, which is one of the most popular ones at the moment. Get not one step back. Helps your infantry and their defensive abilities. Partisans, which partisans are really effective. They can hide and plant mines while they're camouflage. Pretty overpowering, I think, but hey, oh shoot. I'm just a player, so what do I know? And they can throw 18 mines, which can almost one-shot half tracks, which is pretty amazing, in my opinion. So partisans are very cost-effective. And then you get the air raid, which costs 250, but it's an extremely powerful air raid. If you call it in where vehicles are at, it covers a huge area. It'll strafe infantry, but I recommend not using it unless there's a vehicle or two in the area that actually can be used against. Let's get you closer to the front line. As you can see, the AI is not being extremely smart. They try to flank and whatnot, but there's only so much that they can do. So the rest of this propaganda war has the shock guards, which are extremely hardy infantry. We can have a machine gun, or they can have AT rifles, which are very effective. Then there's also large-scale assault, which makes your all vehicles produce faster, and it makes them significantly cheaper, which is really nice. And then you have Katyushas, which are extremely effective at demolishing defenses. So it's an overall good commander. The only thing it's lacking is heavy armor, which you can build from your tank hull if you upgrade it. Alright, so we're going to get a T-34. Actually, we're going to get an Su-76. We'll show you the Su-76. Because it's not usually built that much, but I think it's... Jeez, that thing is loud. I think it's extremely effective, and it can be extremely effective. I'll show you guys how. I've had it used against me by one of my friends, and he absolutely wrecked me by spamming them. Which, their range is a little bit... Probably needs to be nerfed a bit, but... We're not here to talk about that. Next one is urban combat strategy. Extremely powerful. Not as many people use this one sometimes, but I'll show you how it's powerful. Makes your so it makes all your defenses and your outposts stronger, and it makes it so they can reinforce from farther. And it also makes it so your all conscripts can now lay mines. So that's a pretty awesome advantage, and they only cost 20 instead of 25. So it makes them very overpowering in my opinion, but I mean, people love it. So as long as people like it and they don't think it's too overpowering, then they're going to continue to use it. I like to use it all the time. That's mine. All right. We'll get him up there, and we'll just talk about him in a little bit. Next, we have the Urban Combat. Back to Urban Combat has stream of engineering. So it's like basically engineers on steroids with submachine guns. There's only 4 of them. They can still repair and construct defenses. So they're a decent investment, but they're expensive. So I wouldn't get more than 2, in my opinion. But they can be extremely effective shock troops, especially if you decide not to decide to skip the support barracks and not get, you won't be able to get any directly. Next thing you have is the Howitzer, and so you can create the Howitzer, and you can create like these 88mm or 85mm AT guns, which are very effective versus tanks. So that's very effective to have artillery. And then there's for the Motherland, which causes all your infantry to sprint. Double flamers, so you can get 2 flamethrowers on your engineers, which I personally don't ever do that because engineers are weak, and losing 100 munitions for 1 squad is going to be pretty crazy. And then you have the Steamroller, which is the KV2. Costs like 900. It's super expensive, but it's super effective. Make sure you have to stop the tanks for it to move. I mean, for it to be able to shoot. But it's like has decently long range. It could be back here and like shoot things from up here. So it can be shooting all the way over there. It's extremely effective, and I highly recommend using it. It's an awesome tank to use. So this Urban Commander's solid commander as well. Then we have Breakthrough, which gives all your infantry are deployed faster and harder to suppress. And there's this Inspiring Speech, causes your infantry to sprint. So the same ability the other one has, I believe. And then the Juggernaut, the ISU 152, which is a beast, absolute beast. You have to watch out for it getting flanked. Oh gosh, this guy's getting low. But it can like one-shot a whole entire squad, which is insane. And it can it's just honestly just a beast. The thing is freaking amazing. It can shred tigers, panthers, anything. It's called the Beast Killer for a reason. And yeah, that makes it pretty. Wait a second, we gotta deal with these guys getting behind my lines. Unbelievable. Guess they snuck around. See, the AI can be somewhat sneaky. Just don't rely on them to be super smart. Alright, they lost. Once they lose like 2 guys, they'll usually retreat. Get this guy to flank over here. So the rest of this commander has Armored Spearhead, which adds skirts to all your tanks. I'll go ahead and show you that. Let's see. Armored skirts. Do all that. It gives you armored skirts for your tanks, for your heavier tanks, for like your T-34s and T-34s, your SU-85s, SU-100s. And it makes them basically harder to kill versus AT weaponry. As if you break through artillery, which I'll show you this, you should be able to call it in the base sector, but for some reason you can. So we'll go ahead and call that. It calls in a whole bunch of mortars, Katyushas, and heavy artillery. As you can see, it's extremely powerful. And here comes the heavy artillery. Then as soon as it finishes, it calls in a smoke barrage on the area so your infantry can move in, which can be pretty handy. As you can see, there's a T-34 with all the armored skirts. You can upgrade it with a flamethrower, which is pretty effective. It only comes out the front, so you gotta be aware of that. Oh, and as you can see, it makes the Panzer Strike doesn't do near as much damage with this on it. Alright, just has to lose 1 more. So I think it just makes the Panzerfaust more or less likely to penetrate the front. As you can see, that first shot didn't penetrate, which normally they always penetrate. So that's your T-34, that's your basic tank, and then the SU-76. There's all that smoke that Barrage dropped. SU-76 has basically it's like an AT gun on wheels. Not very effective versus infantry. You can give it a 50 caliber to make it more effective versus infantry, but I usually don't do this. You can give the artillery ammunition. Never get the artillery ammunition unless you've already got some other AT, like AT gun or another tank on the field, because then they can't fire at vehicles anymore. It's just basically mobile artillery, which is very effective, but that's all I can do. Alright, so let's go ahead and do this. So that's pretty much it. KV1 as well, it's a heavy tank, which costs 700. It's slow. Right now it's a little bit undersized, I believe. And it's slow. Has the same gun as the T-34-76. It's not the best gun, but it has extremely heavy armor, so it's good to go toe-to-toe with Panzer IVs. It can even go toe-to-toe with Panthers for a little bit, because it's heavy armor, but I won't be able to pen them very effectively, so just be aware of that. Let's go ahead and get these guys in here. This guy's already Vet 3, holy cow. There we go. Let's go ahead and move all these guys up. See, AT gun has very long range, so that's very nice as well. Here's artillery ammunition. Let's go ahead and use that. You can use it as extremely high ranges, so you can see how effective it is. If it hits anywhere near them, though, it will annihilate them. Here we go. As you can see, it'll instantly kill wherever it hits. Oh, we're getting 4 in that, or 3 or 4 in that one. So yeah, it's very effective. The KV1 up here as well. So that's the Soviets for you. And the only thing that I would do different is, remember, the Panzer Elite. I would generally build more engineer squads. I usually try to kind of skip conscripts and just go tech up for strictly. You usually get a sniper as well, because they're super expensive to reinforce. So if you can drain them like that, then so that's the basic build order for the Soviets. Hope you guys hope that helps you out. 1 engineer, conscript, command squad, conscript, machine gun. That's general, but you always want to have 1 engineer, 1 conscript, 1 command squad, and 2 conscripts and 1 command squad, and usually a machine gun. So let's go ahead and move on to the Ostseer. Hope you guys any other questions for the Soviets, just post them below and I will answer them. Alright, so here we have the Ostseer. What I usually do is queue up another Stern Pioneer, build my infantry command. It's pretty much straightforward. You should definitely go for the infantry command because it's a lot safer bet than trying to rush machine guns for tier 2. So tier 1 is basically what you always want to go through. Go for is Ostseer. And 1 Stern Pioneer squad will usually build this almost completely by the time the second one gets out. So you want to send the second one to cap. You don't always have to get a second one, but I usually prefer to get a second one. So this is why I usually build 1 extra engineer and get him out. Start capping. So as soon as this is finished, it's up to 270. So you might as well be a Lancer right off the bat, because if you build a Kuba wagon, you'll have just manpower that's just kind of sitting there, and you want to use all your manpower effectively, especially early game. So after you get your first Lancer squad, you can either get a Kuba wagon, another Lancer squad, or just keep going for Lancer squads. I usually get up at least 3, no more than 5. I usually like 4 is my number. Kuba wagon is effective at fighting snipers and scouting, but against the Soviets, I find that it dies pretty quickly with the AT grenades in their current situation. So I usually won't build one unless I see a sniper or a ton of observer teams, because they will shred observer teams and snipers very effectively. And they're good for flanking machine guns, but they have somewhat weak armor, so just be aware of that. So as soon as you can get 280, you're going to want to go ahead and get another Lancers. You also have the skirmish commander, which isn't very effective in combat. I'm not exactly sure his abilities, so I usually will wait to build him until later in the game, because he's not very combat effective until he gets his MG34. Oh, as you can see, we've encountered engineers. All right, so I guess we're playing the. I accidentally made it so it's Americans. So we'll just be going against Americans. That's fine. But I'll still be explaining versus Soviets, just so it's easier for you guys to see. I usually build the same versus the Americans and the Soviets, with only a few tricks. Sometimes I'll usually build the Kuba wagon if I'm playing the Americans, because you can harass the engineers, and there's not jack shit they can do to defend against it because, I mean, they're engineers and they have submachine guns. They're only good at close range. So that's another thing good to know. Another good thing to know is Lancers they also have barbed wire, kind of like Volksgrenadiers. Except they can't build heavy cover, but they can build barbed wire so you can wire off heavy cover. So that's an important thing. Always wire off your heavy cover because then the opponents won't be able to use it. And it's just satisfying knowing that they can't use it. They can use engineers to break it, but if they run up there, they're not gonna be able to do that mid-fight. So it's just something that's beneficial that you can do. Certain Pioneers, you're always gonna want to charge them in to try to get a little bit of cover versus Engineering, because they're not gonna win at range because they don't have range weapons. They have submachine guns. They can also build spring mines. I personally don't like to use these currently because they usually don't kill any models. They just weaken the squad. So unless you have a lot of weakened squads, you see, I wouldn't start building them. And you can spend your munitions better than that, in my opinion. So it's still up to you, you know, of course, but I just want to build them. So you have all your Lancers. So we'll go ahead and get 4 Lancers. Not going to build a skirmish commander right now because I don't feel like it. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and pause real quick. So the 2 upgrades that you can give your Stern Pioneers are either the Granatbusch 39 grenade launcher, which is very effective at infantry that are bunched up. So I would encourage you getting at least one of those in your match because it can kill 2 to 3 conscripts at a time, which is very effective. So it can make conscripts a lot weaker. And once this guy gets a little bit of vet, he can usually take out a conscript squad, especially if they're not upgraded. He can also build spring mines, which I, once again, don't recommend building them. They're not as effective as regular mines, and they usually don't kill models, so I tend to not build them. They can build a field hospital, which can be very effective because Lancers seem to be somewhat weak, so they can take casualties, and it basically just gives you zombie Lancer squads. So, like on some maps, you can build it here, a little bit back farther here, maybe like right here, so they can't kill it that easy. But it's an extremely effective way that a lot of players don't usually build. Then we have, don't forget that you have tank traps. You can block off little areas if you want to make choke points and whatnot. You have barbed wire as well. Panzer nest, which is a cheap MG nest, but I usually don't like to build it because it can get taken out in 4 T-34 shots. So it's usually not very cost effective unless only way where I would build it was maybe to cover my cutoff if it's relatively protected. So like this is back in my base somewhat. And I built one to cover my cutoff like mid-game maybe if you keep trying to cut my cutoff off. But I would never build one like forward, especially late game because AT gun, you can just take it out pretty effectively. Next you have the Regal Mine 43, which is a steel case anti-tank bar mine. So what this means is this can only be triggered by vehicles. These are lifesavers. I would plant at least 2 to 3 of these early game if you can, because that armored car that I was telling you guys about, that's don't want the enemy to see you plant them, so we're going to retreat him. Forgot we got to get more Lancers out. So you don't want the enemy to see you planting them, but they are extremely effective. So that armored car you saw in the beginning, it'll one-shot the armored car, which is pretty insane that it can one-shot an armored car, and it's just a very effective tool. I guess Americans aren't trying to cap or anything. Let me have all 3 fuels. But get a few of these down, preferably like choke points, like right here, maybe here where roads cross. Because I had a 1 versus 1 versus one of my buddies, and he got an armored car out and drove down this road. Just right off the bat, it just died because it got hit by the AT grenade. So, and it can also, it pretty much immobilizes any of your or Soviet vehicles or Allied vehicles. It'll just immobilize them. So that's another way I've killed another one on this actual same map. I had T-34 come down here, turned around, and blew its treads off. So usually it won't do a ton of damage, but it'll blow the treads off. So it makes them a sitting duck. It gives you a lot more time. The Americans just let their squad die. So after this point, I've got 4 Lancers and 2 Stern Pioneers. This is basically where I'm comfortable at. If you want, you can build a skirmish commander. I'm not sure if it's really worth it at this point because, I don't know, he just doesn't seem very powerful for early game. But you will want him for a later game because he does have some effective abilities, which are really, really awesome. I'll show you. All right, so next you have your guys here, so you can build the next one, Tier 2, which immediately will give you machine guns, which is nice to help you cover areas. Panzer Kampf Command, which can give you the League support gun, Stug 3, and your heavier tanks. And then you have your Luftwaffe headquarters, which is how you can upgrade things, which I usually won't build this early game unless my guys are really weak. I usually like to tech up it, same as like with the Soviets. So what you want to do is get your first research, Soviet support barracks. We'll do that, and we're actually going to go ahead and build, once we get enough manpower, we're going to build the Tier 2. And after you get this upgrade, you can also get packs out, which are extremely effective versus lighter meteor vehicles. They struggle with heavier vehicles, but I'll show you how to use them more effectively to crush heavier vehicles. Not sure what this guy's trying to do. AI seems to be a little bit challenged. All right, let's get Tier 3 up. And there's also the Panzer 2, which you can rush for if you get the if you go to don't build any other buildings. That's an option right now. You can rush for that and get a Panzer 2 out, which they're extremely effective. They're like a Puma on steroids, but their armor, they can be pretty easily taken out by AT rifles from the Soviets and by conscripts AT grenades, so just keep them at a distance. But next update, I'm not sure if they'll be in there, so don't completely rely on them. But they can be a very easy vehicle to rush if you just build only Tier 1, get an AT gun to protect you, or maybe 2, and then get this out. And then you can be set, especially if you have this much map control, definitely rush for it. But I'm going to show you, that's a kind of a high risk one, but it can be high reward if you destroy their infantry. Versus American, it's very high reward because their stickies can only be done at close range. Alright, so once we got Tier 2 out, we can go ahead and get the half track out early if you want. I'll show you what the half track can do. And you can get the machine gun and a sniper. I usually don't like to get the sniper out unless I'm seeing a lot of Struckley or heavy infantry use, because versus conscripts, it just takes a lot more to damage them. So at this point, we'll go ahead and get since we're getting the half shack, we're going to go ahead and get a pack out next, because we don't want them to surprise us with the light vehicle. Even though we've got AT mines out, we don't want anything to be surprising. I'll usually put a Panzer Shrek on one of my Lancer squads somewhat early to deter vehicles. Alright, so now we got the half track out. Now we'll get a pack. So we still got a relatively balanced army. We're getting some light AT here, and then with some dedicated AT. So you use your half track when it first comes out. Just use it. You can just use it for carrying infantry squads around, reinforcing, and helping push off the enemy. You can immediately upgrade it to with 60 munitions to a mortar half track, which makes it extremely effective against all infantry and support weapons, because it can it'll just decimate them from range, and it can still reinforce, so don't forget about that. And then you can also, we'll wait for the anti-air support, which makes it a very effective harassing vehicle, more than it already is. But you just use it to support your assaults. And the MG is decently power at pinning infantry down. Let's see if we can get I think it takes like 2.5 bursts. Maybe more. Or we'll go ahead and get the anti-air support. You can't carry infantry anymore if you get the anti-air support, so just remember that. But the half track is also pretty durable against light small arms fire. AT rifles will shred it very effectively, but small arms, it's very effective. I mean, very ineffective on it. We got our pack out. Put him behind lines somewhat. As you can see, this thing shreds infantry, so you can be a little bit more aggressive once you get this. And you want to get this super early because it's just a beast. Just a little bit of a war crime, focusing on medics. No big deal. Always kill medics. In this game, at least. Alright, so we got that out. So from here, we've got a pretty balanced pool of units in this game. If you were in this game, you'd be doing pretty dang well. You're probably expecting a light vehicle to come out. They might be going for AT guns or something, but you're very good position. You got some AT mines down there. I guess you only got one, but still doing good. All right, so once you get Panzer Modernization, it'll be your next step. Because here you're still limited to your half track, and if you build your if you build your Panzer Conf command, you can get the Stug if you're really running low on fuel and whatnot. But I usually don't like to do that. I usually like to upgrade to the Panzer Modernization, and I'm going to go for Panzer 3s, which I'll show you why I love Panzer 3s so much. They're very, very effective. Let's hunt this guy down. Versus Americans, rushing this is extremely effective, as you can get veterancy racked up super quick. And as you can see how quickly it shreds, holy cow. As you can see, mortars are very effective. See if he has stickies. Let's try to shred his. Oh, yeah, mortar team just dead. As you can see, this thing is extremely effective. It can wreak serious havoc on the Americans, but this is in the Soviets. You gotta be a little bit more careful because conscripts get the AT grenades. Ooh, get the kill. Yeah. I don't think these guys have stickies yet, so we're just gonna go ahead and close in. Let's get that machine gun. Actually, don't want to let him live. There's some flamers in here. Are you kidding me? All right. This guy, get you down there. All right, let's pause the game. So basically, you can see my infantry are somewhat pretty low health right now, but I'm gonna go ahead and get the Panzer 3. So the Panzer 3, when it comes out, it's a medium tank, but it's somewhat light. All right, so it can destroy the that armored car extremely effectively. It can kill it in like 2 or 3 shots. And the BT7, it's superior than the BT7 right when it comes out because it's more expensive, has more health. And the guns, I think, are pretty similar because I think this uses a 37 and that uses, I'm not sure what it uses, but I think they're pretty equal in caliber. So it just has a roughly equal gun, and it also just has a bigger health pool. So the Panzer 3, when it comes out, it shreds infantry. Like I've considered it a god versus infantry. It'll kill between 1 and 3 infantry in a shot. It like wrecks conscripts pretty well, in my opinion. Get over here. And it has relatively good armor, so it can stand up to a conscript hit or two. And after I'm getting my first tank on the field, maybe before it, if I'm comfortable with it where I'm at, I get the Luftwaffe headquarters up because that's the only way I can heal my troops. This thing is just shredding infantry this round because the AI is just challenged. As you can see, he's already got 23 kills. He's putting some work in, and they haven't even tried to attack any of my lancers. Also, you can upgrade your lancers with a heavy machine gun or a light machine gun, which improves their firepower at range, and you can give them MP44s, which is what I prefer to do with almost all my squads. I usually have that one squad that has the Panzer, the one that has a Panzer Shrek. Usually gets the machine gun as well, so he can be at range. Then I'll give my other ones MP44s, which makes them very good shock infantry. You can push them in and take out a lot of conscripts right off the bat. So I like to use my infantry like that. And it's a little bit cheaper than giving them all machine guns, because those cost 75 versus 50. So the Panzer 3 comes out. I usually like to upgrade with the MG34. It just makes it that much more effective against infantry. And let's see. As you can see from here as well, there's a L60 50mm barrel. I usually get this after I get my second Panzer 3. I usually like to get 2 Panzer 3s. Usually no more, maybe 1 less. But if I have 2, then I'll get the L60 50mm barrel, which makes it, because normally this thing goes, if it goes toe-to-toe with a Sherman, a Cromwell, or a T-34, it has decent armor, so it can bounce a few shots, but its gun can't really pen at all, unless it's flanking them. And still, it'll usually lose a fight, 1v1 versus them. With the 50mm upgrade, it'll I think it's I wouldn't say it's superior, but it's definitely on par. With flanking, it can definitely beat a Sherman, T-34, or a Cromwell. So just be aware of that. It can be upgraded, so this thing can go from early game to medium to mid game pretty effectively. I usually don't make it a flame panzer because I just consider that a waste of the resources, because this thing can be very effective. Let's go ahead and see what we can use it. Oh, we got an AT gun. It's only one AT gun though, so I think we can flank it pretty good. And as you can see, it already took him out. So this thing is very effective at taking out stuff. Got a half track up there to kill that flame. See if we can hit this AT gun. He's getting there. Alright, so after you get the Luftwaffe headquarters up, which kind of glitches out from range, you can finally call in airdrop medical supplies, which you want to use preferably once like you have like 2 or 3 squads that are injured. Man, this guy's a beast. As you can see, the machine gun is helping kill the squad a lot more effective, so that's why I like to get that machine gun on there. Very effective. We'll just let him do what it does, and then make sure you grab that medical kit. Alright, so another important thing is over here. Once about mid or start towards the late game, you want to get your upkeep if you can do that, because that'll make, as you can see, I'm at 248, and this will usually raise it by 10. So I'll get that. And then you can also get the close air support. So you say you're floating a ton of stuff like this, you can do that. And if you do the munitions one, it'll raise your munitions by 5 each time. Let's go ahead and get this guy to fire. As you can see, he snipes infantry pretty well. It's like a sniper on wheels. It's amazing. Alright, so we missed that time, but generally, it's pretty effective. Machine gun just killed someone. As you can see, the machine gun's killing a lot of people as well, so it's definitely worth the investment. And then sniping infantry left and right, and as it gets veterancy, it'll just get even better. If you want to even extend their abilities even farther, you can get the side skirts, which will give your Panzer 3 and 4 and Panther tanks skirts, which is really nice. It helps them versus AT weaponry like stickies and AT. Oh, he just killed that entire squad. And stickies and AT rifles and whatnot, make them a little bit stronger. So let's go ahead and get that, and we'll get our second Panzer 3 out. As you can see, my army supplies went up, so it's about 250. I think it, yeah, only gave me like 2 more, but I'm not sure. Yeah, it only gave me 2 more, but still, I mean, more is merrier. All right, so now we're getting this upgrade, the flying one. This one's worth it because this guy, you can use it to scout, which is awesome. And you can also upgrade him with the MG34, which makes him actually viable to use in combat. MG34, I wouldn't use him still in the front lines, but he can be used like a little bit behind the lines, pin down infantry, and just support. Just make sure you use them to support. Oh, shoot. As you can see, we have a Greyhound coming out. He doesn't have his upgraded armor, so he's definitely going to lose. So as you can see, you can go toe-to-toe with most vehicles. Oh, it's a half-track. Okay. We're going to have to get him some support. Get both our Stern Pioneers up there to repair him. Got damaged engine from that duel. And we'll give him a friend. Alright, so once you get this upgrade, you can once again call him a BF-109 raid, and you just want to point it the direction. It'll go in a straight line like the American air raid. You just gotta have a death wish. And as you can see, he's got another AT gun up, so we're gonna want to get him out of there. AT gun getting a kill at that range. Gotta watch out for their AT gun as well. Get him back. Veteran C3, this is a very effective unit at this point. Just gotta make sure you keep it healed up better than I'm doing. And the side skirts will give him even longer longer life. And words are hard right now. Alright, so I got my two Panzer 3s out. Preferably I like to have them out a little bit faster than this, but it is what it is. Alright, so after I get my two Panzer 3s, then I'm going to want to start teching up. I usually want to build tier 4. Go ahead and actually retreat one of these guys back to give me tier 4. Get that grenade launcher. Oh! Not sure if this is the best decision by him. Never want to charge MG half track with your AT gun. AT gun turned around on its own, kind of cool. A little bit creepy. Alright, so now we got both our Panzer 3s here. We're going to go ahead and upgun them as well. Because, as you can see, they're decently effective. I mean, honestly, like Greyhound's not going to be any problem for them. But after that, anything bigger than any medium tank is going to wreck these guys right now because they're not very effective. With the skirts, it helps their armor, their health a little bit, but still, I did not want to go toe to toe with a T-34 right now, even with two of them. These guys don't have good range. Oh, as you can see, you can also attack AT gun with this. Says it seems to be very effective. Where is our upgrade? Upgrades come in, and there you go. Now they got long range, longer barrel. I'm not sure. I think these are 50 millimeters, both 50 millimeters. Gives them a lot better penetration rates versus tanks. And they still snipe infantry relatively effectively. Let's go toe to toe with the half tracks. Oh, there's a Greyhound. Let's take him out first. As you can see, it's taking out a ton of health. Makes them much more effective versus vehicles. They like 3-shot half track and a Greyhound. And they still snipe infantry extremely. Two shots. Holy cow. Guess I can't attack that. Oh well. So these guys have a field day in this base. Take out a few things, then we'll get out of there. Anyways, so we got tier 3 out. As you can get you can get the Panzer 4, the Stug, the League. So if you're having a lot of problems with infantry being stuck up in the defensive area, then get a League and you can start just pounding it from halfway across the map. It's very effective. It's like a mortar on steroids, and it's just extremely effective. The Stug and the Panzer 4, I believe, can both. I think all 3 of these tanks can camouflage, which is pretty awesome. So if you already got 2 of these Panzer 3s and an AT gun, you might want to go ahead and skip the Panzer 4 or Stug unless you're seeing a ton of armor and you need something right away. Otherwise, just skip it. And oh, there's another Greyhound. Gonna help these guys out. They don't have any anti. Oh. Let's go ahead and flank this AT gun if we can. As you can see, they're extremely effective taking out crude weapons as well. So yeah, Panzer 3s are pretty overpowering up until medium to late game. Alright, so M10s will absolutely destroy these guys pretty well. M18s, Hellcats will destroy these guys pretty well. T-34 85s, SU-100s, SU-85s, pretty much anything with a decent gun is gonna kill these guys pretty quick. But for lighter stuff, these things are gonna wreck. So you can still use them pretty effectively in combat. Just be aware that they will start to lose tank battles as it goes on. So as for that, almost got the Panther upgrade. We get him upgraded, and once we get a Panther out, they can also camouflage, and they can take out you get a first strike bonus. Alright, so another thing, let's get that Panther out here. So we have a heavier tank. Once we've got our Panzer modernization, the packs can use heat rounds, which are extremely effective versus heavier armor. So for your T-34, 85s, IS-2s, ISU-152s, pop this on here, it'll fire a few rounds like that. If you get especially if you get side shots or rear shots, this thing will tear right through them like they're just like a light tank. It's amazing. So if you have two of these firing heat rounds, they can take a IS-2 down like it's nothing. Sounds like we got a vehicle. I think it's another Greyhound, so it's no biggie. Yeah, there it is. Let's see. Get him around here. Maybe two of them? I don't know. There he is. Alright, let's go hunt him down with these guys. And yeah, so just make sure you always have heavier tanks, or at least if you want to spam Panzer 3s, you can do that, but make sure you have at least 2 AT guns to cover heavier armor, because these guys are going to eat up stuff like this, but anything heavier, they're going to have some serious issues. Alright. Greyhound's going to try to hide. Not going to work too well versus these guys. Oh! Maybe it was a trap. Alright. Let's make sure there's no AT guns, and then if not, I'll start telling you guys about the what is this? Oh, let's see if our half track can go toe to toe with this half track. Oh, we killed the gunner, so the thing's gonna go down pretty quick now. Get him upgraded, and oh no. Okay, so we can just let these guys have a field day now. Just put that on there. Alright, so other things that you want to get, once you get the second upgrade, you can also do a Stuka Dive with this, which costs 125. I wouldn't use it on anything that's not moving. It's kind of somewhat weak, but it can take out a squad for sure. So if the squad's capturing a point, and you can use it pretty far away. So if they're trying to capture this VP, you could call him in and probably wipe a squad. Other things, let's see. MG34, you can always do that later on to help with dealing with infantry. Panzer 4s, you can also get the advanced vehicle countermeasures. It basically gives the Panzer 4 armor-piercing shells, which make it more effective versus tanks and whatnot. So if you do that, then it'll be able to take out heavier tanks. You just gotta pop that whenever you encounter like a T-34 85 or a KV2, KV1, or a IS-2, and they can deal damage. You can use only Panzer 4s, but I won't do that. So remember, basic build order is either no extra engineer or one extra engineer, and then just 4 lancers, and then from there try to get your first vehicles, and then after that AT gun, then Panzer 3s, or you can tech straight to the Panzer 4s / just get a Stug from this one, and not even build tier 2. You don't have to build tier 2, and just go from there. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please leave a like, or if you have any other questions about build orders, just go ahead and drop them below. And actually, wait a second, we forgot about commanders. All right, let me review commanders real quick. Humved Army troops is comes with aerial denial barrage, which basically let's go ahead and do this one. You can do it pretty much anywhere. You can do it on a point. It's kind of like the defensive doctrine for the Vermont that calls in mortars, but I think might be a little bit heavier. Alright, it looks like it's the same thing. It's very effective to use on like if they have an outpost just to kill everything right around there. And it only works on neutral or friendly, so I guess yeah, it helps kill stuff. And if anything tries to go in there while this is active, they'll get killed as well. Also, you can do this to make your AT guns invisible. Oh shoot! We'll just pause the game real quick. This ability makes your AT guns invisible. It gives them a first strike bonus as well, much like the pack, which I like to use. It's pretty awesome. And you have the JU-88, which can cost 200, but it drops some pretty heavy bombs. It's pretty powerful, but not as powerful as the Soviet air raid, but I guess it's 50 cheaper, so that's good for taking out emplacements or whatnot. Then you have the Humveds, which are very effective. They can be upgraded with submachine guns, and they can shred infantry. And they also can get these lighter versions of Panzer Shreks, which they fire quicker. They fire quicker, but they don't do as much damage to heavier armor. They can't penetrate as well. Mark target. Basically, just use that ability to mark a target, and your units will be able to see it farther in fog or war and do more damage. Then they have the I can't pronounce that. It's an assault tank. It's basically like a stew for the Austere. It's really effective versus infantry, and it has actually has an anti-tank shell as well that can fire. Other two commanders, they come with I shouldn't have selected this one, but other two commanders come with the Panzerwerfer, which is extremely effective. You can switch it out for the reward one with the Tiger Ace, which is also effective. The Panzerwerfer is basically what you want to go for first because it can fire flames and just shred infantry in the area. And then the last one is the kind of like the defensive doctrine one. It infantry do more damage when they're in cover, and it's like the ability that it has is like a For the Fatherland pretty much. It makes your infantry heal in that sector, whichever sector you use it, and it makes them more powerful, do more damage. So it's extremely effective to use. Only costs 40 munitions. And you can also get the Elephant super late game. Usually don't get it unless it's like a 3 versus 3 or 4 versus 4. But hope this video helps you all out. Any other questions, just leave questions below, and please leave a like if you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you want to see more, and goodbye.